Hello, hello. Hey, today we're going to talk a bit about the selling mindset, or I like to call them thinking habits. So many times in life, when we think of habits, we think of things like making your bed, brushing your teeth, but habits are all over the place. And I love to think about the idea of thinking habits, right? Because we can shape our thinking, we can challenge our thinking, we can change our thinking, we can decide something, and when we decide something, our thinking can change to move in the direction of the new decision. So I really just want to talk about this idea of thinking habits, or maybe we'll call it the selling mindset. So one of the things that's very, very helpful in our business, and it's not about being Pollyanna or overly positive or anything like that, because there's context, there's depth to it, but is this idea of going into every phone call and every appointment, believing that you can make a sale, right? And that should be the whole tip right there. I should probably just drop it and say, hey, that's a surefire way to close more deals. I'll tell you my own personal experience. When I first started with BVM, it was the first time I had made a list in my entire life and read through it in the morning. In fact, I think it was Aubrey Kincaid who might have influenced me to do this, because him and I, this was in 2015. If you know Aubrey Kincaid, he's a great guy, publisher, used to be a pastor, and just a really sincere guy, really, really fantastic. Rookie of the year last year, I believe. And well, I say rookie of the year last year. He shared his story at our conference. If you were there in January, no, he left and then came back, and pretty cool. That's a true testament to what we do in many ways. A true testament to him as well, to be like, man, that was a really great thing. So that's why he was just like a little asterisk on his rookie of the year. Anyways, in 2015, I went to my first conference right after I started, shortly after I started, June or July. I think it was June, and met Aubrey, and he recommended this book to me, The Greatest Salesman on Earth, or The Greatest Salesman Ever. It's by Og Mandino. And in there, that book influenced me to basically make my scroll of life. And the idea in the book is you can go very, esoterical with this, or spiritual, or you can go into the neuroscience. It fits either way. I think in the neuroscience world, they call it the reticular activating system, where you wire your brain a certain way, and then it just starts to guide you in that direction with those thinking habits. Basically said, write down what you want and repeat it to yourself in the morning, afternoon, and evening. So as a habit, is a habit. I still have this habit. I do it in a little bit different way now. But a habit that I carried and have carried with me for the last 8.5 years. So I share that because one of the things I wired myself to do early on, I remember looking at my sheet, and I actually have a treasure chest with the different sheets, because they change and they morph over time as we have new goals and life shifts and things like that. It was a list of a few things, and said get my 3 S's. And at one point on that list, I went from make 2 to 3 sales this week, or hit XYZ quickly, or whatever kind of vague thing I'd written. And I put, I am enjoying making 3 new sales per day, or I am enjoying signing 3 new deals per day, something along those lines. And it seems kind of wild to be aiming for that every single day, right? But the magic that I found in it was, obviously, Monday through Friday, I didn't make 3 sales every single day. I've been 15 sales a week. That's pretty wild. I think our record is 9, 10, 11 that just happened a couple weeks ago. Pretty big deal, by the way, to write up 9 agreements in a week. But what it did was it had me focus on the fact that I was going into every single appointment going, I can make this a sale, right? So when I think about thinking habits, I believe there's a term for that. That may be metacognition. I think humans are so far the only ones we know that are able to do that, where we get to think about our thinking. Kind of a silly, funny thing there to think about. Throw that word out there again. But the ability to focus on that and drive for that. What did happen was, as a result, I did have days where I wrote up 3 or 4 agreements in a day. And I partially believe it was because of thinking that I could, first believing in it, and then having it as a focus. Now, it wasn't on those days where I walked in and every single first appointment was a sale. It was generally, some combination of 2 first appointment deals, and then a second appointment from earlier in the week. And then, when it was a 4 sale day, it was usually like one from last week plus the the one from Monday carried over to Thursday, 2 new on Thursday. So it was just the perfect storm. Awesome. Also, I know around deadlines, pretty common to get 2 or 3 deals because you're like, hey, Friday's the last opportunity to get into the next edition. You know, that can tie into our urgency conversation about yesterday. But anyways, I just wanted to plant that seed in terms of us challenging ourselves. What are our thinking habits? Are we going into every single meeting going, yeah, I can make this happen? And are we letting things discourage us in the process in terms of, you know, phrases like, I don't advertise or whatever it is? Or are we figuring out how to work through them? Yesterday, Kevin Norton did a masterful closing conference call. It's in back office. I know many of you reached out and said you wanted to hear it again. So yes, it is recorded. It's in back office. It's really fantastic. And then the second part of this for today's video is I think sometimes it's really easy to get lost in the complexity of business or whatever it is it might be thinking about. There are many parts of the business to consider, especially those of you on listings and sports. It's like I have this and this, and we can even think about digital as a big thing and print. But I do believe that simplifying helps us operate in a much smoother, simpler way. And why not make life simple, right? It's already complicated enough. So there's 3 things I borrowed from someone years ago at SLC, our September Strategic Leadership Conference. And he said, everything we do boils down to just 3 things when you're sitting with a prospect, and that is the market, media, and money. Now, obviously, we know there are 5 buying questions that are super important to ask, but everything that the person across from us says or does, and everything we do and say should be on point or tied in some way to one of those 3 things: the market, the media, or the money. What's the market? The market is this an important market for you, right? If they say no, see you later. We're out. There's nothing for us to do here. Maybe ask for some referrals. Who do you know? That's a real estate agent, etc. Who do you know is always great. If they say it is an important market for them, then 100% we can be convicted and we have to make this work. How do we figure out a way to make this work for them, right? What's going to be great? We don't have to guess. Obviously, they tell us throughout the process of us working with them in an appointment. But so that's the market, right? It's either an important market for them or it's not important, but it's pretty black and white. Media. The media part is, do they understand what we do? And that is really resolved through doing the slides the proper way, keeping it simple but effective on the slides, through showing the video and doing a great magazine tour, right? There is no substitute for the video and a great magazine tour. They are critical components of a super high closing percentage in big orders in our business, just orders in general. So that's really fantastic. In essence, do they understand how we are the Super Bowl of media in the community? And it's in a sense that everybody's watching, right? There are eyeballs on their ad. People love it. It's really fantastic. Even people that don't like the Super Bowl watch the Super Bowl for the ads. I know from being a publisher that we have really cool things like people that live in the community sharing the magazine with others outside, saying, hey, I know, there's this HVAC guy. You said you need an HVAC guy. He advertises in my community magazine. So we know there's a share and spread factor beyond it as well. But it's the greatest thing you can do to reach this audience. That's hands down, right? So they understand it. Do they understand? I don't care if they're as convicted in me, if they don't have the 1000% conviction that I have personally, but even if they go, yeah, I can see how this will benefit my business, that's good enough. Good. Well, let's fire it up, right? Because that leads to the third thing is money. How much are we spending? And that's important. Every ad is a great ad. I know sometimes we hear about all these large orders, which are fantastic and absolutely a big part of the business, in terms of a 40, 50, $60,000 contract. Yeah, makes sense. Businesses should absolutely be spending that much money with us. Absolutely. On the other hand, some businesses, they're going to be the 12, 24 edition, 8th page ad. They're going to kick the tires, start out with us. As their business grows, you want to grow with them, or maybe that's all they're comfortable spending with us till they get to see a little bit more. I'm totally okay with that too, right? So it's just money. It's just a solvable thing. How much are they investing on a monthly basis? Also, I know one of the things floating around right now that people are talking about, whether using a presentation or not, is really a whole different discussion. But Katya Henderson reminded me of this morning. It was on our publisher Zoom. And I know that it's a powerful way to think about it, the money part of it. And that is the weekly amount, right? So if you're looking at, grab my phone here, if you're looking, I should have just done simple math and did like 400. But let's say you're looking at an ad for, $600 for the monthly investment, divide it by 4, it's $150 a week, right? Now you can go down to like 400 a month times 4, it's obviously 100, things like that. You can break it down to the day. So let's go, 500 divided by 30 days, $16 a day. Can you spend $16 a day, it's $500 a month ad, on your business? I hope so. So even if we don't use that in an appointment, that's one of those things where I wouldn't add stuff to your appointment. It's one of the biggest mistakes we can make sometimes is bloating our appointment with additional things, adding stuff to it. On the other hand, there are moments where something like that, breaking it down to a daily or a weekly cost, can be super helpful, or just for our own perspective. Wow, $500 isn't that much. $600 isn't that much. That's $16 per day. Why the heck was I thinking that's a lot? That's crazy. Not a lot for a business owner to spend at all, especially on what we do. So that's what I got. Hope you enjoyed today's daily video. You can always leave comments. You can text me. You know how to get a hold of me. Super easy to find. And let me know what you want to hear next or anything else. Talk to you soon. Thanks.